Hello, everyone, and welcome inside Mullet Arena. Blake Neiman here with Gabby Chernoff for the SunDevilSource series recap following Arizona State's series split with Colorado College. The Sun Devils now 14-9-1 on the season, 9-5 in the NCHC. And Gabby, coming into this series, Arizona State was one of the hottest teams in college hockey over the past couple of months, atop the NCHC standings, one of the best conferences in all of college hockey, and 11 points of their last 11 games coming into this series. Looked like they were going to keep their hot streak going tonight, had a multi-goal lead going into that third period, trying to complete the sweep against the Tigers, but Colorado College 5 goals in that third period to close the door and ultimately come away with the win to spoil the weekend for ASU.
Yeah, this loss for ASU breaks a couple of streaks, 12 straight games as of last night with points in conference games. Tonight would have made it 13, and they haven't lost in regulation since November. After that sweep at Colorado College, after getting swept at Colorado College back in early November, the Sun Devils lost in regulation to Omaha the game after that and have not lost in regulation since that game until now. So like you said, one of the hottest teams in college hockey. Last night, a 4-1 win. The Sun Devils full depth on display, and tonight the collapse, like you said, just started in the third period. 5 goals for Colorado College to come all the way back from a 4-1 deficit. It was just, Powers said in his post-game press conference, they were just more desperate. The Tigers wanted it more, and the Sun Devils can take this as a lesson because this is the SEC of college hockey. It's a very hard conference to win in consistently, and after 2 weeks of being atop the NCHC standings, the Sun Devils drop to the number 2 spot behind Western Michigan. They also fall from 10th place in the pairwise last night to 13th after the loss tonight.
ASU seemed to be in control for most of this game tonight up until, the final period of this one. And after last night, a lot of versatile scoring from a bunch of different guys. Tonight, it's Charlie Shane and Ryan Kerwin who pretty much lead the charge on the singular line for ASU, and both of them with multi-goal games. Shane only had 1 goal all season coming into this one and then had 2 in the third period alone.
Yeah, and this was the first time those two guys have played together on a line this weekend. I should say they did play together on a line last night. But even before Charlie Shane scored, he was standing out to me in that first and second period when ASU was just dominating the game. He was making plays everywhere on the ice. He was relentless in his pursuit of the puck. So I would say his 2 goals, which were the last 2 ASU scored, were kind of a long time coming for him. And then Ryan Kerwin, Powers has been praising his shot since before the season even started. And Powers said after the game that those 2 guys were 2 that were kind of carrying a lot of the workload even in the beginning of the game, and kind of the only 2 guys who really played a full 60-minute game. But last night, yes, the depth was on full display. This weekend was supposed to be the Sun Devils' first weekend of the entire season where they had an entirely healthy roster. They've been riddled with injury, that forward group, all season, and Cullen Potter did get sick before the season series this weekend, and so we'll have to wait till next week.
We'll have to see how it goes and see what his status is like. We'll get an update from Greg Powers on that on Tuesday. But looking at this, like we said at the start, ASU is one of the hottest teams in college hockey coming into this series. Like you mentioned, haven't lost a game in regulation since November, and now kind of have a gut check ahead of these final 10 games, showing that they are human in a way, and they do have some inconsistencies to figure out.
Yeah, I think the biggest of those inconsistencies, and Powers has been harping on this again all season long, the face-off dot. The Sun Devils lost the margin 38-17 tonight. That's, for those of you who may not follow college hockey or hockey in general, that's not very good. So that's definitely the biggest weakness for Arizona State. It has been all season. And it's kind of like punting in football where those 2 stats don't really go hand in hand with winning games, but they can, because ASU has lost faceoffs in crucial moments, which have prevented them from closing out games. I think back to that North Dakota series, that second game where they lost 4-3 in overtime. The only reason that game went to overtime is because when North Dakota had their goalie pulled, ASU could not win a single face-off in their defensive zone to try and maintain possession of the puck, to try to get the puck out. So yes, that's definitely their biggest weakness. And as far as the remainder of the schedule, they have some pretty tough teams ahead. They have the number 1 and number 3 current teams in the NCHC standings ahead on their schedule. Western Michigan at home, they're number 3 in the country. They're just a powerhouse of a hockey program right now. And then Omaha to close out the season, and then Denver for the second of the 2 series meetings between these 2 teams will come back in early February as well. So the Sun Devils definitely don't need to win out. They're 13th in the pairwise unless they get that at-large bid in the NCHC postseason tournament, or that automatic bid by winning the NCHC postseason tournament. But they definitely don't need to win out, but some tough teams ahead on the schedule. I would say against those tough teams, especially at home, they definitely need at least a split. And they'll head to Miami, Ohio, who only has one conference point. They're dead last in the standings, and that's who Western Michigan beat this weekend to get to the top of the standings. So a tough schedule ahead for ASU if they want to close things out, but also a couple lower caliber opponents that they'll definitely have to take full advantage of as well.
A lot of outside challenges left remaining for Arizona State. They already have built up that tournament resume with that earlier win over Denver back in the fall with that sweep at their place, the reigning national champions. Huge marquee win for this program. But looking at it from your point of view, Gabby, with 10 games left for this team, trying to make the NCAA tournament something they haven't done since 2019, like Greg Powers has said, they're entering chapter 2 of this program. What's it going to take to get back there?
I think it's just cleaning up the little things, like the face-off dot. Again, that and winning are not paralleled, but if you can't win a face-off in a big moment, that can make or break the game. And it's very process-oriented. I think this team has done a very good job throughout the course of the season, navigating injury and through finding that team identity that they really play consistent with. They never waver from it. Even last night, Power said when they were down, or the game was tied after the first period because neither team was really doing a whole lot of anything. Power said we didn't really feel like we needed to change anything. We just needed to stick to our plan and stick to our process, which is a very fast, skilled roster that kind of takes a lot of the work of planning things out for them just because of the natural skill that is occurring on that roster. And I think they kind of just need to stick with that, stick with process and identity, because it's worked very well for them this season, and it did last night after Power said we just didn't waver from our process and our identity. So I think if they stick with that and they stick with it through a full 60 minutes and they're able to close out games, it'll bode really well for them in this final stretch, and they should have a good shot at making the NCAA tournament.
And being able to stay healthy, of course, too, trying to keep that health. Recently just got healthy ahead of this series, trying to keep that going forward. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to the SunDevilSource series recap. For Gabby Chernoff, I'm Blake Neiman saying so long from Mullet Arena.